Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at a triple Shadow team that got sent to me here as well, and this player climbed over 200 points with this team. And this team is actually quite interesting because you're going to see here right now that they're going to run the Drapion in the lead, and they're going to have the Machamp and the Ninetales in the back. Basically, on how this team is most likely going to function is that you're going to use the lead to try to get somewhat of an advantage, hopefully switch advantage, but if you only get like shield advantage, which we're going to see most likely here as they can let the move go through, you're going to be fine as well. But basically, you're going to have a backline where you have one Pokemon that beats Steels and you have one Pokemon that beats basically everything else. And so you kind of have a great core of the Machamp as well as the Ninetales, but you kind of want to align them. And so here we're going to see the Shadow Ball gonna get shielded. You can align yourselves here, at least with the Ninetales against the Annihilate. We're gonna see the Empoleon stopping in. We can see the Machamp coming back in here, and the Walrein will not appreciate any of it here, as you're gonna see the cross chop coming through. The opponent is going to be forced to use a shield here, but this is still not looking good for them, as they should be able to just farm them all the way down and basically win the first battle with this one, as one cross chop is going to get them quite low. And okay, yeah, with the extra counter, definitely going to take the knockout here as well. And we can most likely move on to the next game here. By the way, this is all cut from the person who sent in the battle, so I have no idea what is happening here. I have not even looked a little bit at the battles. I don't even know exactly what is going to be happening here today, but let's take a look here at the battle. We're going to see the Shadow Ninetales in the lead, which is quite interesting because you're going to have a favorable matchup here as they're running Powder Snow as well, which is kind of great for you. As you can see, you're going to swap out into your own Ninetales, catching the move, which is interesting, so maybe you use your own Ninetales as a safe swap, which is quite risky, which you're going to see here as well. Why it's quite risky, because they're going to have some Steel type in the back. Steel type's going to be very tricky for your Ninetales to deal with, and there are quite a lot of them in the meta, so not too sure if I would recommend you to go for the safer of the Ninetales unless you're going to have a double charm line. Here we're going to see as well that the opponent is going to be able to get some extra energy, as well as they can go for most likely a power whip here against the Machamp, while you can get some energy on your own Machamp there as well, which is going to be great. We see the Jellicent coming back in, which is going to be a horrible matchup for you, but at least you can still go for one Rock Slide. Hope that you get maybe a shield, which would be great here, but you don't, and so you can stay in here. Swap out now into your Drapion, and you're kind of lucky that you can still get the crunch off. I think this was a CMP type, which would be great for you. It was, and so it's Machamp against the Jellicent as well as the Ninetales. You're actually in a great spot because you have all the energy, you still have a shield, which you're going to use now, and as long as the opponent doesn't catch, which is basically impossible for them to do unless they're going to play it better there in general, you're going to see here that he can just go for a double Rock Slide, and is going to be able to seal the deal. This is going to be able to knock out the first Pokemon as well as the second Pokemon in the Jellicent here. Very well played, definitely like very well played here, as we can move on to the next opponent. We're going to see the Drapion against the Galvantula in the lead. This is something definitely where you want to stay in as well. As you will see, we can just go for the Crunch most likely. Crunch is not going to be enough to knock them out. Gonna put them into like deep yellow health there. As you're gonna see a shield coming up, going to be okay for you, but they're going to go for the lunge now anyway to try to debuff you. Smart play by the opponent. This is like the benefit of Galvantula. Two shield scenario for this Pokemon is quite beneficial in neutral scenarios in general, because you can just get those debuffs off. You don't get a debuff here with your move. You're most likely going to let this move go through now, as you can farm them down with Charm on your Ninetales. They're still gonna get to another charge move, but it is what it is. You can use a shield if you want to. I would actually let this move go through, and you also let this move go through, as you can keep the shield for the Machamp, which is going to come in clutch here against the Girafarig. Girafarig is going to have Psychic Fangs, which you have to shield up. It is going to be a little bit annoying, but you would be able to knock them out otherwise afterwards, as you're gonna see the Dragonite coming in. I think you need one more fast move, because I think they might outspeed you now, but I think it doesn't matter either, because you can actually farm them down, and so we can move on to the next opponent. Shadow Dragonite in the lead this time around. You're mostly going to stay in, go for a Crunch. You're going to outspeed the opponent, which is kind of nice, and you should be able to win this scenario. I think in the one-shield scenario, you should be able to be kind of fine here. As the opponent uses a shield, you could actually use a shield as well, and just try to force another shield, which is what I would do, and they are doing the same as well, because having shields down is quite nice for the Machamp later on, because you can just knock them out with the hard-hitting charge moves. As you all see, you're gonna see the full farm down of the Dragonite. They're very likely having a double Steel backline, which is something that I also popularized here in this current meta. It is going to be, let's see what's going to be in the back. It's actually going to be the Cresselia, which is a little bit more annoying because now you cannot go into your Machamp. You have to kind of stay in this matchup. But I think the best play for you is just to let them go for a charge move now and let the move go through. I don't think you use a shield here. I think this would be better for you. Exactly. You still have to use a shield on your Machamp because the opponent overfarmed by quite a bit, but they should be into range for one cross chop even after all the counter damage. And as they went straight for the Moonblast, you're going to be okay here. Rockslide does, I think, a little bit more damage than the Cross Chop does. I don't know, actually, after the buff of Cross Chop, but it doesn't matter anyway, as he can knock them out here. And Cross Chop is going to be enough to knock them out. Again, very well played. Great energy management on the Machamp. Like, honestly, great gameplay here so far. Next opponent, let's see. Drapion against a Ferrothorn on the lead. Again, you kind of have to stay in here because you're going to have a Fairy type on the back. You kind of don't want to align a Fairy type against a Steel type. But Crunch is actually still kind of fine, and as Poison Sting shouldn't really do any damage anyway, based on what the move is kind of doing. You're going to be in a decent spot here, as you should be able to actually win this in certain scenarios. So that's kind of great for you. You decide to use a shield here as well as the opponent swaps into the Mandibuzz. You can go into your Ninetales. You were a little bit slow. I know you wanted to get some energy there, but this can be actually a little bit tricky because Mandibuzz is quite spammy, but I think you're still going to be okay, as you can even go for a charge move here if you wanted to. They should have 2 Aerial Aces still stored now, so maybe going for... actually, I think you still survive on Aerial Ace. I think this is actually a correct call here to just let this move go through. And yes, you can barely survive another one, so well played there. We're going to see now the Weather Ball coming in against the opponent's Ferrothorn. Again, like, this player plays it really, really good so far. The Weather Ball is going to be able to connect, and we see the counter down most likely from Machamp, allowing you to now get some energy on this Pokemon as well. And the opponent decides to forfeit. Next opponent, we're going to have Drapion against the Cresselia. Lovely matchup for you. Easy win for the Drapion. Nothing really to worry about. Just go for Crunch and you will be fine. 2 Crunches are easily going to be enough to 2-shot them here. And so we will see the opponent swapping out here into the Mandibuzz just to get walled by a Ninetales. This is brutal so far, as the opponent has nowhere to go. This is going to be just the Aerial Ace again. You can go for the full farm down, and you're just going to be able to end up with a little bit more than a Weather Ball stored in terms of energy. And you might even be able to knock them out this time around before they can go for another Aerial Ace, which is going to be great for you, as now you're not even into farm down range. Just go blind for the Weather Ball. Oh, actually, they're going to go for the Carbink, which is even better for you, because now you can still align your Pokemon correctly, which is kind of nice. Like, if they went into the Cresselia, I think it would be better for the opponent. But like this, you can get some damage on the Carbink. Of course, it does a little bit less damage here because it's more bulky, but you can go into the Machamp. And so, even if you have to use 2 shields here on the Machamp because the opponent has a Moonblast still stored or something like this, you still should be fine, because as you're gonna see, the opponent is going to be quite low. You can actually let this move go through. Like, there's no reason to use a shield here. It's just going to be a Rock Slide anyway. So yeah, this was actually the correct call. You can let this move go through as well. It's most likely going to be a Grass Knot. It is, and so the opponent is getting completely destroyed here. They should hopefully forfeit here now as well, because this game is by far over. And so they decide to use a shield here for whatever reason. You just still have 2 shields left. This is going to be a good game. Honestly, very, very well played so far from this player. Amazing gameplay so far, and let's move on to the next opponent. Drapion against a Magnezone. Again, you have to stay in here. You can go straight for the... I feel like Awkward Tail would actually be an interesting play as well here, but Crunch, of course, does a little bit more damage. Because you'd have to go for 2 charge moves anyway, most likely. And Awkward Tail would be a little bit cheaper, of course. Here we're going to see the no shield coming through, which I do agree with as well, because at the end of the day, you can align your Machamp and you kind of really need shields for your backline. Crunch coming through again and getting the final shield, as well as getting the first defense drop here, which is really important, as now Machamp is going to go to town even more here, as you will see the opponent swapping out into the Kofagrigas. You can save up your Machamp, and Machamp energy up is going to be great. Unless you're going to have here something like the Annihilate in the back, you're going to be fine. It could be the Annihilate in the back though, because like this team definitely would make sense with Annihilate still, being a double Ghost backline, but we have to see if this is going to be the case. You can go for the full knocked out here against the opponent's Kofagrigas, and we will most likely see the Magnezone coming back in here. So we have to hope at this point that there is going to be something in the back that you can beat with the Machamp. You can go for the full farm down, and it's going to be a Sableye. And here you can go for the Rock Slide, but you also have to go for another charge move afterwards, but I think you're just barely there because of the energy management that you did there. Cross Chop is coming through. Hopefully it's going to be enough. It's still resisted, but it should be enough to knock them out, and it is, and so we can move on to the next opponent. Next opponent coming through, Feraligatr in the lead. Actually a fairly decent lead for you because you resist the fast move, but you're still going to have the same pacing as the opponent. And we're going to see here the Awkward Tail bait from you coming up, which is a little bit risky. I am not too sure if this is going to work out for you. It is going to work out for you, and that's great now, because now you always outspeed them with a crunch. You don't have to worry about anything else anymore. You can always just outspeed them here. And so you can even snipe them here. This was a great play by you, as you will see the Ferrothorn coming in, which is a little bit annoying though, but you got rid of one of the Pokemon while maintaining basically all the health on your lead, which is a lovely gameplay here so far. If this is going to be the Mirror Shot, you're still going to be able to survive it, I think, but it's going to be the power-up anyway. Like, Ferrothorn is actually quite decent for the Ninetales, because in the current meta, most people run Thunder plus the Power Whip, and so you're going to be able to survive at least one charge move, and as we can see here, the opponent's quite low. They went straight for the charge move, I think, as well, and so you can go into the Machamp. As they swap out into the Gligar, you can swap out now into the Drapion, but it's going to be a tough matchup. You have to hit basically an Awkward Tail, but honestly, I think the best bet is actually to let the move go through, because counter down with Machamp looks like an interesting play here as well. And they go for the dig, which is actually better for you. And now we can go for the full counter down, as you're gonna go for a charge move, trying to force a shield from the opponent, just so you can go for another cross chop later on against the opponent's Ferrothorn, which is also a very smart play here by this player. Well played so far. And as you can see, you need one more fast move to go for the... Oh, they actually have the cross chop already here, as they can go for that one now, knock them out and win this game. Again, like, I did not really cut those belts together, but you see also on the bottom his elo and how he improved his elo quite a bit with this team so far. So, Annihilate, coming in here, we're going to have, again, a very neutral matchup for you. You can win this in the zero shield scenario, most likely, but anything else is going to be a little bit tricky. I still kind of don't like that you cannot see if the opponent got a boost or not, but it is what it is. Crunch coming through, you don't get the debuff, which is kind of unfortunate, but now Awkward Tail is going to get them quite low. Again, alignment would be kind of key for this team. We see the shield coming up, which is fine, as you don't get to another move, which is kind of unfortunate. Like, if you would have got to another Awkward Tail here, this would have been lovely, but still, you can use a shield onto, a Night Slash, but they can only go for another Night Slash anyway if they wanted to, but they decide to just let it go through anyway. And now we're going to have a very awkward matchup, but this is going to be great now for you. You're going to have the Dugong against you, and you go for the Rock Slide, because Rock Slide does a little bit more damage still, and it is going to be able to pick up the knockout, which is crucial, as you can now go up against the Carbink, and Carbink against Machamp is actually a great matchup for the Machamp, as Cross Chop is coming through so fast, you resist the opponent's fast move, and you just do neutral damage the entire time, which is just a lovely sight. As you're gonna see here, the Cross Chop coming through, gonna get the opponent low, and at this point you can still reach another one, which is really important for you, as it's going to take the knockout. And what a game this was again, and so we can move on to the next opponent. Let's see what they're going to run here. We're going to have the Drapion against a Ferrothorn. This is going to be a very neutral matchup again, as the opponent swaps out into the Mantine, allowing you to go for a Crunch, and I guess you kind of want to swap out maybe into your Ninetales afterwards. Could see this being the play, but you get the debuff here anyway. That's going to be fine for you. The debuff was quite important here, as Aerial Ace is coming through. You can still try to reach another Crunch as you go for the CMP tie, which is a very smart play. Because you got the debuff, this is now going to be able to knock them out, and this is quite important, as now the opponent is forced to go into their final Pokemon, most likely. It is going to be the Gligar, which is very good for you to know, because now you can still go for the Awkward Tail, and you can align the Ferrothorn against your Machamp, which is just lovely to see here, as we see the Ninetales coming in here. You can let the move go through as well if you want to. I don't think it's worth shielding here. It's going to be the dig, and it's totally fine for you, but as you're gonna see, the opponent is most likely going to swap out eventually into the Ferrothorn. You're forced to use a shield now, but I don't think they're going to stay in for too long, do they? Yeah, they tried to catch the move here, did not work out. You can keep the energy, and you can now swap into the Machamp. A shield is kind of needed here, but I think you're kind of fine, because you can overfarm by quite a bit now, go up to 2 cross chops, and now go for a charge move, or even go for the full farm down. And this is going to be even better for you, because now you can force a shield here or the knockout. They decide to go for a shield, they can even still take another Rock Slide, and this is going to be it for this game anyway, and also for the video. Again, very well played with this team here. Triple Shadow action, very cool team to use. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, feel free to leave a like, and I'll see you then. Bye bye.